Okay, so I'm going to do yogas now, and for every ascendant, some planets are going to be very beneficial, and some planets are going to be quite difficult. And these are basically the karmas we have to give to the world as we were born. And obviously each chart has got its own obstacles or challenges or things that we need to do in order to get skills for life, really. I'd never want to think about them as, because we all go through difficulties. It's just part of being a human being, actually. So it's really nice to just embrace these things and go with the flow rather than always trying to work against the universe, which really does not serve anyone. So one of the most beautiful things about Vedic astrology, obviously there are three things. Well, I will probably say four actually for me. So we have nakshatras, which I will do a lot of things about nakshatras. And then we have yogas, planetary yogas, which we're going to touch on a little bit on this video. And then obviously the other thing is dashas. Dashas are amazing because you just know what karmas we're working our way through during what periods, timing. And I also like panchang, so I will be teaching some panchang as well because it's very, very private side of us, and that always helps as well. So let's start with yogas. So the most important yoga that I always look at two yogas in every chart, just very quickly, and they will be yoga for success and achievements, which will be a Raja Yoga, and also that's when also just touching, Raja Yogas are combinations between houses and planets, which are trinal or angular. So for example, when you have a trine lord goes into an angular house, that naturally creates a Raja Yoga. So I'll show you lots of different examples of this. It's quite interesting to watch through this. You see so much. And it's always worth knowing that every ascendant's chart will be different, and there are always obviously natural benefics, natural malefics, and auspicious houses, inauspicious houses, and depending on how these work, then it can actually give good results, medium results, or no results. So, but basically, the houses that are most beneficial, which are all to do with wealth and just auspiciousness of life, are first, 5 and 9. These are the trinal houses or trinal triangle. First house, which is you. Fifth house. First house is always good. For every ascendant is good. Fifth house is always good because it's good karma from previous lives. And ninth house will be your house of luck and happiness. So these houses are always good for every ascendant. And then there are houses that angular houses, which actually give you the support, or they are the pillars of your life. Those are, first house is trinal and angular, so first, 4th, 7th and 10th, and 10th being the highest of all angular houses. And then we have houses that are inauspicious, and those are 6th, 8th and 12th. House of disease and confrontation, house of chronic diseases, 8th and divorce, and 12th house of loss and expenses. So those houses are always difficult. Particularly the 6th house is difficult, although it gets better with time. It's also an upachaya house, a growing house. 6th house and 6th house lord, whenever they are in combination with planets that give a Raja Yoga actually damage that Raja Yoga and make it a lot weaker, the fruits. The 8th and the 12th house, despite the fact that they are also Dushtana houses, they don't really spoil the Raja Yogas as such. So it's worthwhile knowing that. The houses, the 2nd and 7th and also the 8th house, I will say, they are Maraka houses. So during the time periods of them, we can get ill, or they can also provoke death in some people if their time in coincides also in the dasha. So if somebody gets to their maturation age, so you could see that, when you're looking at somebody and it looks as though in their 80s, they come across those 2nd, 7th and 8th lords get activated, that can cause issues with longevity. And 3, 6, 10 and 11th houses are upachaya, so they naturally will grow and get better with time. It's like anything. If you can imagine that you have friends, your relationship with your friends get better with time. Their real true friendships are there. You find it easier making friends. You would have made your mistakes, maybe if you were quite confrontational with them. That eases with time. You do better at work, you get more skills, so you just expand your horizons at work. And 11th house of gains as well, that as your job gets better, you feel better as well. And then we have karma houses, houses of desire. They can give us a little bit of problems as well, because it's like desire based. We can always want more and more, which are 3rd, 7th and 11th house. So these are very important too. So for obviously all planets, I'm not talking about the nodes, they'll own 2 houses apart from Sun and Moon, that each rule 1 house. And for some, like for example for Aries Ascendant, both Sun and Moon, they're both really good planets, because one rules 4th house, one rules 5th house, so therefore they're both really good. But it could be that, for example, for a Virgo Ascendant, even though Mercury gets on well with the Sun rules the 12th house, so it's not really a great planet for them. It's kind of neutral. So this is how you would see the planets as well. So let's have a look at each lagna. So Aries Ascendant. So obviously Mars is a good planet for them because it rules the 1st house. So it's a trinal and also an angular house. But obviously it rules the 8th house. But 8th house is considered as like an impressionable house, so it doesn't really kill any of the results of any of the if you like. So it doesn't any Raja Yogas, it doesn't spoil them in any way. And one thing I forgot to say actually, 2nd and 11th house are the houses of wealth. So whenever any trinal house, 1st, 5th, 9th, is in conjunction or has got some sort of influence of 2nd or 11th house with them, then they will actually create a Dhana Yoga. So let's move to Aries Ascendant. So basically we know that Mars rules the 8th house from Lagna as well. So which means that as an 8th lord, it can create issues for them. And because also it's a house that's also 12 houses from the 9th house, has a issue, that you could see that it could also give them some kind of issues with, it can be kind of inauspicious in that sense as well. So basically, it's like if they had like Mars and say Jupiter, both of them in the 8th house, so it would be 9th and 1st house ruler. But you can see that the 8th house kind of slightly kind of blemishes it, but it doesn't completely destroy that, because also both of them work pretty well in Scorpio, so it's not really that much of a problem. But this is how you'll see that. So when you have like a trinal house lord, which is like Jupiter, ninth house ruler, with the first house ruler, which is an angular house as well, together. Even if it's in the eighth house, it still is. It's a slight affliction, but it's not too bad. It still gives them a really nice Raja Yoga. Saturn rules their 10th house, but also rules 11th house. And 11th house is an Upachaya house, so it's not a great house, but it will also help them with gaining wealth as well. Mercury will be the really difficult planet for them, rules 3rd and 6th houses, 2 Upachaya houses, and obviously 6th house is also a Dushtana house. So by that principle, it's actually difficult for them. Venus is their Maraka planet because it rules their 2nd and 7th house, but also means that, you know, it's just basically, it's an angular house ruling a wealth house as well. So it can, if like Venus was in the 7th or the 2nd house or in the 1st house or 5th house or 9th house, will create good wealth for them as well. And so those will be how you would look at it. So any time they have a really nice, like, say if they had Saturn and Jupiter together, that creates a really good Raja Yoga of success. But if that was created in, say, in their 6th house, which is Virgo, then that will actually very much diminish the goodies that Raja Yoga could bring as such. And obviously 3rd, 6th and 11th houses can also, we could say that they are definitely malefic houses anyway, so they can also they don't give good fruits when the trinal or angular house lords fall into them. There's a lot of struggles that come with 3rd house, 6th and 11th house, you know, because desire houses and Upachaya houses, just, you know, difficult houses. But generally speaking, we can say that Mars will be a good planet for them, as will Jupiter will be a good planet for them, as will be Moon and also the Sun. Sun was probably by far the least difficult one for them. So if the Sun, for example, was in their 10th house, will be 5th house ruler in the 10th, would probably give them one of the really fantastic Raja Yogas with no blemish, because it doesn't rule any difficult houses. So, and the same as if Moon was in the 5th house, Moon was in Leo, that will be good too. So this is how you would actually look at everything. Then we have Taurus Ascendant. Taurus Ascendant is an interesting one because the ruler of the 1st house, which is normally very good for every single ascendant, it also rules their 6th house. So most of the yogas that are dealing with Venus will be spoiled somehow and will create some sort of difficulties of deaths or 6th house stuff with it as well. But they are very lucky in the sense that the most malefic planet, well, most difficult one probably would be actually Mars, but the other one, Saturn, is their Yoga Karaka planet. So on its own, because it rules an angle and also a trine, 10th and 9th house, then therefore on its own it can create Raja Yogas. So if you have Saturn in your 1st, in your 4th, in your 5th, in your 7th, in your 9th, in your 10th, it will just give you the most amazing Raja Yoga on its own. So it doesn't need to actually, on its own it can create that. So it will be amazing. And then, but even Moon is inauspicious for them, is their 3rd house ruler. The greatest benefic planet, Jupiter, rules their 8th and 11th house. That's not auspicious for them. And actually Mercury is good, 2nd and 5th house. So although 2nd house is Maraka house, but it's also the wealth house and 5th house as well. So very good. So that's a pretty good one. And it's neutral to Mars. Mars rules an angle, 7th house, but also rules 12th house, so they can have losses to do with partners as well. But yeah, the best planet for them will be Saturn first, and then it will be Saturn. Very good. But obviously, any sort of yoga, money yogas that Jupiter is in, because also rules the 8th house, will be blemishing those for wealth. Yeah, so it's quite difficult there. And so results of Mars will be kind of impressionable because it rules 12th house, so it's not too bad. Gemini will be Mars will be very difficult for them because it rules really difficult houses. So it rules 6th house and 11th house for them, so both difficult houses. But obviously it'll be their 11th house ruler of wealth as well, but there will be some debts to go with that as well. So it's not an easy planet for them at all. Jupiter rules 2 angle houses, 7th and 10th house, but because it's a natural benefic ruling 2 angles, it's not that. You really want malefics ruling your angle houses because they can put more effort into it, and soft planets can be a little bit weak to give you the will to push through. But nonetheless, it's a good planet for them because it rules 7th and 10th house. But obviously, Jupiter also will be a Maraka planet as well. So, but a lot of the Kendras become neutral in the sense when they are benefic. So they're not as benefic as Jupiter, they're just neutral really because, as I said, they're not as strong. But what we can say for them is that Saturn will be a good planet for them because it rules the 9th house, really strong trine, but rules also an impressionable house, 8th house. But it doesn't break any yogas because it's the 8th house, it's the 6th house that creates issues. So that will be, their 6th house will be Mars. So. But the planet that really gives them money will be Moon. Moon rules their 2nd house. And the Mercury itself can be really strong for them, rules 1st house and 4th house. So it will be a triangular house, both 1st house and 4th house, which is an angle. So Mercury can be very, very good for them as well. And Venus also rules their 5th house, again another trine house, and the neutral house or impressionable house, 12th house. So again, that can also support quite a lot of good yogas create for them as well. Then we have Cancer Ascendant. Cancer Ascendant, obviously Moon will be the best planet for them because it rules angle and the trine house, 1st house. Then the Maraka house and also the money house is ruled, Leo is ruled by the Sun, so it's Maraka and also wealth giving as well. And then we have Venus will rule an angle, 4th house, which is great, but also rules 11th house, which is a more malefic house, but also house of money as well. Mercury is not a good planet at all for Cancer Ascendant, rules 3rd and 12th house, so it's quite a difficult one, and it will spoil any form of yogas as well, just because it's difficult, but it will just get better with time. And then Mars is Yoga Karaka planet. Again, you know, it's a planet on its own. It can create really good yogas for them. Rules the 10th and 5th house, so really strong angular house and strong trinal house. So as long as it goes into a really good house, it will be given fantastic results. And Jupiter will be 6th and 9th house, so it's a bit neutral to them. So 6th house can break any yogas and will not produce any Raja yogas for them as a result. So, and then the houses that, so the best planet for them will be Mars, will give really good results for them. And Saturn rules their 7th and 8th house, so it rules an angle, but it's still difficult because obviously it rules 8th house, but it's an impressionable house, so if it's involved in any Raja yogas, it's not going to be bad at all for them. Then we have Leo Ascendants. Leo Ascendants, Mercury is their money-giving planet. It is also Maraka as well because it's 2nd house, and 11th house is difficult, but it gives them the Dhana yogas. Venus rules their 3rd and 10th house. So 10th house being, rules their house of career, so really strong angular house. And so we have also Yogacaraka planet Mars rules their 4th and their 9th house as well. Very good planet for them if it falls in any angular or trine house, will be amazing. Jupiter rules an impressionable house, 8th house, and also the 5th house. So it's good. It can give really good Raja yogas. It'll be auspicious for them. And obviously Sun will be good because it rules the 1st house, angular, and trine house as well. Saturn for them rules their 6th and 7th house. So although it rules 7th house, which is a great angular house, but because it also rules the 6th, so it will spoil any Raja yogas for them. Virgo ascendants, so Mars will be the most malefic for them because it rules 3rd and 8th house, so it'll be very difficult for them. Also, Sun rules the 12th house, so again, an impressionable house, doesn't really kill any of their yogas, but it's not a good house. Venus will be a really good planet for Virgo ascendant because although it's Maraka because it rules the 2nd house, but it rules 9th house, which is a really good trine house, so really be good for money on its own. And then we have Mercury also rules 1st and 10th house. That would be really good trine on an angle. Lord, very, very good. And Jupiter rules 4th and 7th house. So it's a benefic ruling to angles. So it's not really strong enough, but it is not a bad planet for them, and it really helps their Raja yogas as well. And then we have Moon rules for Virgo ascendant, rules the 11th house. So it is an Upachaya house, money given house as well, but it's not great. So yeah, so it's not great. It does get better though with time. It can provide them with loads of money. So then we have Libra ascendant. Libra ascendant, so the first lord Venus is 1st and 8th house ruler. So it's impressionable house, 8th house, but it still rules the angle and trine house. So it will give good Raja yogas. Best planet for them is Saturn, ruling 4th and 5th house. So that's fantastic. Yogacaraka planet on its own in a good house will give fantastic results. Sun is not a good planet for them, so it's the 11th house rule. It's very malefic to them, and it's also an enemy. Mars rules their 2nd and 7th house, so it can give money, but it's a Maraka planet as well. And then Mercury will rule for them what would be 9th and 12th house. So again, very good planet for them. 12th house is impressionable, neutral house. It doesn't cause any issues with Raja yogas at all. And then for them, the 10th house is ruled by Moon, so it gives very good Raja yogas for them. And then we have Scorpio ascendant. Scorpio ascendant, Venus rules their 7th and 12th house. So its 12th house is, it's a Dushtana house, but it's impressionable. So again, it's a good planet, rules good angle. And Mars rules 1st and 6th, so it can actually break yogas for them. And then we have Jupiter will be really good because it rules 2nd house of wealth, 5th house of really good trinal house. So that's a really good house, but it is also Maraka house, 2nd house being Maraka. And then Saturn rules 4th house, which is great angular house, but it rules 3rd house, so it's actually a difficult planet for them. And then they have Moon will be ruling their 9th house, so it's a great planet for them, really great trinal house. 10th house is ruled by the Sun, again, very strong angular house for them. But Mercury will be really malefic to them, 8th and 11th lords, so it can cause a lot of problems for them. And then we have Sagittarius, that really good planet is Jupiter, ruling 1st and 4th house. It's great. I know it's a benefic ruling to angular houses, but it's being the first lord is really, really good. Their second and third house is ruled by Saturn, so not a good planet for them. Maraka planet, although it's wealth giving. And third house ruler, which is obviously not a good house, but Upachaya house. Then we have Mars ruling the fifth house, lovely trine, and also 12th house. There could be some losses there, but it's impressionable house, neutral, so that's fine. Sixth house, so we know that 6th and 11th house rule of Venus, not a good planet for them. It breaks any of the yogas they have in their chart if it's connected to them. And then 7th house and 10th house ruler will be Mercury. That will be like a benefic planet ruling two strong angular houses, so it can be a little bit weak, but generally speaking, good planet for them. And that's it really. So yeah, Sun is definitely a good planet for them. Really good planet. Rules the 9th house. It's fantastic. It's really strong, and it's a Mutrikona sign as well, so it makes it really strong. And okay, so then we have Capricorn Ascendant. Capricorn Ascendant, first house and second house ruler is Saturn, so it's a good planet for them. Money giving planet, and also Maraka planet. Jupiter is really bad. Bad planet for them. It's very unfortunate actually, because it's the planet of Guru, which is debilitating the first house, so very difficult there. But Venus is an extremely good planet for them. Yoga Karaka planet, rules their 5th and 10th house, so on its own can create huge amounts of goodies in their chart, success giving planet. Mercury will be good, but it rules 6th house, so it can actually spoil, despite the fact that it rules the 9th house, it can still give issues because it rules the 6th house. And then we have 7th house ruler is Moon, so good planet, rules good angle. Sun will be a difficult one, rules just the Dushtana house, but impressionable house, Leo. And then we have, we've spoken about the rest of them, so that's that one. Then we have Aquarians, which have first house and 12th house ruler is Saturn, so it's kind of slightly weakens the yogas, Raja yogas because of that, but it's, it doesn't completely destroy them like a 6th house ruler would. But basically 7th house ruler is the Sun, so that's a good planet for them. Moon will be a difficult planet for them, breaks all the yogas for them of success because it's 6th house ruler. And then 5th and 8th house ruler is Mercury, so it's kind of it's a Dushtana house, but impressionable house, but also rules a trine, so it's not too bad. And Raja Yoga Karaka planet will be Venus, 4th, and also the 9th house is ruled by him, so it's very good, strong planet for them. If the position is good and not spoiled by the 6th lord, will be amazing for them. Jupiter rules their money houses 2nd and 11th house, so although they're difficult houses, but they're still money-giving planets. And Mars rules their 3rd and 10th house. So 3rd house, they're both Upachara houses, they get better with time, but obviously 10th house is also an angular house, so it's a very important house for them. And then we have Pisces Ascendant. Pisces, obviously, Jupiter rules 1st and 10th house, so it's very good. Obviously, it's a benefic planet, so it's going to struggle ruling angles, but it's still nonetheless a really good planet for them. 2nd and 9th house is ruled by Mars, so Mars will be a good planet for them because it rules trine house for them, but also house of money too, but it's Maraka planet too. And then one of the worst planets for them is definitely Venus, 3rd and 8th house ruler, will give real issues to them. 4th and 7th house ruler is Mercury, is Maraka planet, 7th house ruler, and also benefic ruling to angle houses, so it's a bit weak for them, but it still nonetheless rules good houses. And is that Sun? Sun rules their 6th house, so it will break any yogas of success. and also 5th house ruler moon, which is a really good planet for them. So this is how things go. So the Yoga Karaka planets are Venus for Capricorn and Aquarius, and Mars for Cancer and Leo ascendant. So that they're really excellent planets for those. So it's really important when you work through any of the yogas to actually watch those. So that's me for Raja and Dhana yogas. Remember, Dhana yogas are to do with wealth, 2nd, 11th house. When they are in connection with 1st, 5th and 9th house, they give Dhana yoga. And Raja yoga is a combination of angles and trines, where there's houses or planets, when there's connections. You definitely want to look at Dhana yogas in D9s, because D9 is about marriage. So you know that if the 2nd house is, you got Dhana yogas, you normally do have a good chance of getting married. Okay, thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next video.